Jam-packed show lineup for you today. A lot going on. A lot went on over the weekend. We're going to give you all the details on CPAC and that crazy nonsense. Yes, that took place over at the CPAC crazy nut far-right convention, as I like to call it. Donald Trump saying that he can relate, or black people can relate to him more, and you might be a little shocked on why he feels that way. We're going to get to that. It is Monday, ladies and gentlemen, and that means the residential pushing the limits liberal is in the house. Of course, I'm talking about the far lefty, Chris Wynn, who joins us in studio to go over, well, a lot. We have a lot to get to today. Mr. C. Wynn, thank you for being here. What's up?
Always good to be here, Brian. Yes, it is Monday, right? And it's starting to get a little spring-esque here in Las Vegas, my friend, as went through a little, cold spell there, which absolutely signaled that we were still in the midst of winter. But now, the sun breaking through here in fabulous the Las Vegas Valley. And we're going to have some glowing topics to dive into today on your Monday.
We do, Chris, and we have a lot to get to when it comes to CPAC and those nut jobs on the far right. I might get to this later, by the way. Ashley Babbitt is trending on social media. These idiots out there that are calling her a hero when Ashley Babbitt was nothing more than a domestic terrorist is ridiculous. But I do want to start with, again, Donald Trump showing his racism in real time. So he's doing a speech over the weekend, and I guess the lights were pretty bright. I don't know. You could see all of his fake orange all over his body. Folks, you can't make this up. This is the former president of the United States. Listen to the way he's talking about the bright lights and how it relates to black people. Have a listen to this.
Lights are so bright in my eyes that I can't see too many people out there, but I can only see the black ones. I can't see any white ones, you see? That's how far I've come. That's how far I've come. That's a long way, isn't it? These lights. We've come a long way together.
We've come a long way together. He's saying he can only see black people in the crowd and he can't see white people in the crowd because the lights are bright. What is this? Is this 10-year-old recess type humor that he thinks the base of his party would like, making a joke about how he can only see black people in the crowd? Can you imagine if Joe Biden said something like that?
Nothing like starting off the show, Brian Shapiro, on a Monday here in Las Vegas on PTL with some old-fashioned, idiotic, moronic Donald Trump racism across the board.
But Chris,
that's all it is.
It gets worse.
It's
Chris.
Another example of Donald Trump being racist and being an idiot and saying something ridiculous and giving us another indication of why this guy has no business being the commander-in-chief or president of the United States. I know I'm going to come in here at a 10 right now, right off the bat, because I just heard that clip, which I already heard over the weekend.
It gets worse, by the way.
Which I already heard over the weekend, and it's just another example. It's just another indication. What are we doing, America? Republicans, what are you doing? Why is this guy the face of your party? Why is he still relevant? Why are we talking about him still being the president of the United States? He has no business running a 7-Eleven, much less being the commander-in-chief of the United States of America. Yes, I'm coming in right off the top, real hot and real fired up. But after hearing that clip, it just continues to reaffirm my position. Myself and my other fellow lefties and Democrats and just rational, logical Americans thinking, why is this guy even in the mix anymore,
Brian
Shapiro?
I can say this, if Donald Trump...
I'm asking you. It's a rhetorical question, I guess.
I know, hold on.
But I'm asking, why are we still talking about him?
If Donald Trump was working at a 7-Eleven,
so
I would not trust him to stir my Slurpee.
He's
agree
ridiculous.
With you.
He's not, he has no business being the president.
Hold on. It gets worse. It gets worse. Okay. Hang on. Calm down. It gets worse.
All right.
If you think that was bad and racist and ignorant and which it was, by the way, you're right, it gets much worse. Because then Donald Trump went on to say, because he was indicted and he had a mugshot, that somehow black people can relate to him more. Have a listen to this.
And then I got indicted a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time. And a lot of people said that that's why the black people like me, because they have been hurt so badly and discriminated against. And they actually viewed me as I'm being discriminated against. It's been pretty amazing.
Okay, so let me respond to that quickly first, Chris. The idea of the history of this country and how minorities have been discriminated against for him to have the gall and the ignorance to compare his situation to black people is probably one of the worst analogies and one of the dumbest things you can possibly say. But that's the type of thing that Donald Trump says on a regular basis. He's making the case because he was indicted and he had a mugshot that somehow there are black people in this country that can relate to him more, which is, by the way, not true. But before, Chris, I get your response, this is really going to get you going, okay? Now, Raymond Arroyo is a Fox News contributor.
Never heard of him.
Okay.
Yeah.
He goes on Laura Ingram's show a lot. Speaking of
Good for him.
Speaking of black people, listen to what Raymond Arroyo said about how Trump is reaching to black people and how black people might admire him more. It has something to do with the sneakers that he's selling. Listen to what, by the way, this was live on Fox News, a paid contributor on Fox News. Listen to this.
Even the sneaker thing. I was on social media last night. Very interesting as you see black support eroding from Joe Biden. This is connecting with black America because they love sneakers. They're into sneakers. They love this is a big deal, certainly in the inner city. So when you have Trump roll out his sneaker line, they're like, wait a minute, this is cool. He's reaching them on a level that defies and is above politics. The culture always trumps politics. And Trump understands culture like no politician I've ever seen.
So he's trying to make the case that because Donald Trump is selling his stupid $19 sneakers for $400, cheap sneakers that, by the way, most black people that I know would never wear because they look ridiculous and stupid, that somehow this is his way of reaching black people, and black people love sneakers, which is, by the way, racist in itself. White people like sneakers too. I grew up liking sneakers. To say that only black people like sneakers, really dumb and ignorant to begin with. This guy Arroyo is a complete moron, and not a shocker that Laura Ingraham has him on her show almost on a nightly basis. You want to talk about the epitome of racism. You have Donald Trump saying, oh, I can see the black people in the crowd. I can't see the white people in the crowd. And then you have Donald Trump saying that black people can relate to him because he has a mugshot and he's been indicted. And then you have Arroyo on Fox News over the weekend saying that Trump's doing a great job reaching, to black voters out there because black people like sneakers, and he's selling these cheap, stupid $19 sneakers for $400. Folks, imagine the kind of stuff that these people say behind closed doors. Donald Trump is making these statements on a stage in public. Arroyo is saying this on Fox News. Imagine what these people say behind closed doors. Can you imagine if Joe Biden said something like this on a stage? Do you remember when Joe Biden was on the Breakfast Club and he said, you ain't black enough unless you're voting for me? By the way, Joe Biden apologized for that statement. These statements that Donald Trump has made just over the weekend are 100 times worse than anything Joe Biden has said. But you won't hear Fox News talking about it or criticizing Donald Trump. They'll criticize Joe Biden years back for saying you ain't black if you're, black enough if you're not voting for me. These are blatantly racist statements by a member of Fox News as a contributor and by the former president of the United States. They're not funny. They're full of bigotry and hatred. Blatant racism in real time. And what do the people in the crowd do? They clap. We'll get to CPAC in a little bit, but they clap. Because this is Donald Trump's base of MAGA Republicans. They're racist, they're bigots, and they love the hatred towards minorities. Donald Trump's statements about how black people can relate to him because he has a mugshot and he's been indicted, make no mistake about it, folks. It's blatant racism. Donald Trump is a racist. Those that are in his base on the far right are racist. And these statements are racist, period.
Okay, so let me make a couple of comments here. First of all, whenever Donald Trump says something like, well, people tell me, or, I've been told, it's all BS, all right? Nobody has actually said the things to him in the way that he portrays it to be, right? Oh, people tell me this, and this. No, they don't. No, they never told you that. That's number one. Number two, okay, let's talk turkey. Let's get down to the nuts and bolts of this. What was the black support for Donald Trump?
Under 15%.
2016 and 2020.
Under 15%.
What's the black support?
Under 15%.
Under 50%,
yeah.
eh? That's somehow skyrocketing support for Donald Trump. And by the way, Republicans across the board when it comes to their party and when it comes to Donnie in any type of election whatsoever. Again, complete BS. He does not have some elevating support when it comes to the black community. That is utter nonsense. So those are those are two statements I just made there that are 100% solid. All right, when it comes to Donald Trump, he does not have some type of skyrocketing or elevating support when it comes to the black community whatsoever. And there's a reason for that, because he says things that are racist on a regular basis. He says things that are divisive on a regular basis. He's somebody that absolutely all he cares about is promoting himself in any way, shape, or form. He is not somebody that is for the country. Those people who are MAGA and on the right, okay, that support Donald Trump, they have some irrational, yes, I'll use this word. We've used a lot of words, right, Brian, when it comes to Donald Trump. Buffoonery, right? We use a disgraceful, just utterly unfit. We use a lot of phrases, right, and words when it comes to him. Here's another word for MAGA out there and you Trumpers out there. You're delusional, okay? You're flat out delusional because you have an idea and a belief about this person that he represents you, that he represents the little guy, that he represents the average Joe, the average Jane out there in America. It is utterly redonkulous, okay? That's not the case. He does not. All he represents is himself. All he wants to do is pump up himself, talk about how great he is, talk about how he's a great businessman, how he's a great politician, how he was a great president for 4 years from 2016 to 2020. It's nonsense. It's not true, okay? It's just not true. All right. Did some Republicans, were they able to get some things done in the interest of Republicans between 2016 and 2020? Yeah, I guess they were. They were able to get some conservative judges on the Supreme Court, right? They were able to do some things when it came to the body politic in America that helped out right-wingers and Republicans and rich people. Yes, they were. All right. But the idea that is because Donald Trump was the president of the United States, all right, and that a Democrat wasn't, that's why it happened. It's so mind-blowingly.
And Chris,
yes, the word I used is delusional.
And
that's a word that we're going to continue to use when it comes to you MAGA people out there and right-wingers that support Donald J. Trump.
Some of the people on social media that are saying Chris and I have TDS. Let me respond to all of you first by saying this. You have TFS, Trump fellatio syndrome.
Yeah.
I'm not deranged when I call out somebody who's racist,
or deranged,
who's bigoted in nature, and who is mentally ill. By the way, name me one person that was in Donald Trump's cabinet that has endorsed him for the 2024 presidential election. You can't. You know why? Because it's zero. And Anthony Scaramucci, who does this show on a regular basis, pointed that out. That's not derangement syndrome, okay? That's called being aware of your surroundings and understanding.
But Brian, it's not just Brett. It's not just him. What about the Brett Baer interview, Brian Shapiro? What did Brett Baer do in that interview? Do you remember what I'm talking about? What did Brett Baer say to the former president, Donald J. Trump, in that interview? I'll refresh your memory if you don't remember. Okay, he named everybody that's been charged with a crime, everybody in his cabinet, everybody around Donald Trump who has either been indicted or actually been convicted of crimes.
Right. So
you know what I'm talking about,
yes,
right?
Let me just finish.
Every single part. It was.
Yes.
He went down a list
and for
of
anybody
people
out
that
there,
used to be in his administration.
And for anybody
Brian,
that's saying, and there are people on social media, some that disagree with us, that are saying, you're describing Joe Biden. Well, let's be
absolutely not.
Well,
it's a different thing.
Let's be very clear on something. Joe Biden's never
What's
been.
he been indicted for?
Hold on, I'm getting to that.
Well, it's kind of back and forth.
Joe Biden's never been indicted.
Yeah.
Joe Biden's never been found liable for rape, or in this case, sexual abuse.
No, he
I
hasn't.
would label it as rape. Joe Biden, from my understanding, has never cheated on a spouse. He doesn't have 25 women accusing him of sexual assault or rape. He's not facing 91 felony counts, Chris.
No,
and Joe Biden, from what I can remember, has never said, I can't see the white people, but I can see the black people. And, this happened to me before when it comes to the law, so black people can relate to me. No, you know what Joe Biden did? Like her or not, he chose his vice president as a black woman. Donald Trump had the whitest administration in the history of this country. Donald Trump has been sued thousands and thousands of times. way before he decided to become president or wanted to become president, thousands of times. Let me be very clear on this. You cannot like Joe Biden. You cannot like some of his policies. You might think he's too old. There is no comparison and no analogy between Joe Biden, who is a decent human being, and Donald Trump, who is a lying scumbag, criminal, soon-to-be felon. There is no comparison there for those of you that want to try to make the comparison. What would you say, Chris? What do you think the Republicans would say? If Joe Biden got on a stage over the weekend and said, I can't see the white people, I can only see the black people. And then, even further, he said, well, you know, this injustice happened to me. I know Joe Biden's not facing indictments, but let's just say something happened to him where he got pulled over as a teenager, whatever. And black people can relate to me because this happened to me when I got in trouble with the law. What do you think Fox News would be talking about today, and the Mark Levins of the world? What do you think they'd be saying about Joe Biden? You won't hear a peep from them about Donald Trump's despicable racist comments over the weekend. What do you think they would say about Joe Biden, Chris, if he made even comments even close to this?
They would be going ballistic, Brian Shapiro. And let me tell you something. Fox News and all the other right-wing, nothing, ridiculous outlets out there that still carry Donald Trump speeches, you know, even though any legitimate network will never do it because the guy's, you know, completely a clown. But they would, you know, all those outlets too, they would be going ballistic. Let me do you one better, Brian Shapiro. What would right-wing media, okay, conservatives and all you MAGA idiots out there and all you right-wingers, what would you do if Joe Biden came out and wasn't the president right now, right? Was about to try to get elected in 2024. And Joe Biden said to you people and said, you know what? I'm only going to be a dictator for day one. I'll be a dictator on day one.
Yeah.
What do you think they would say, Brian Shapiro?
But Chris,
what do you think they would say, PTL Vegas out there?
But Chris,
what do you think they'd say?
Well, let me
they would dude, I almost unloaded and I almost
Chris,
dropped
you know
it
what?
off.
Can I say something to that?
Here,
it's a good
the
point.
FCC would be fired up. It is a good point.
Okay, but here, listen.
Yes,
you know
I make good points in this
Chris,
show,
you know what the
Brian, sometimes.
Republican,
Yes.
you know what the Republicans, or I shouldn't say the Republicans, the MAGA buffoons would say about Donald Trump in that statement? Oh, there's context. He was just joking. You remember when he talked about injecting yourself with disinfectant and then the next day all the MAGA morons out there, oh, he was just joking. Or the comments about black people where black people can relate to him because he was indicted.
Exactly.
He was just joking. It was some levity. They always have an excuse for this despicable human being. And I've had it. And speaking of excuses, let's talk about CPAC for a moment, Chris, shall we? The far-right nut jobs that were speaking at CPAC, it was let me tell you, it was a bundle of pedophiles, Matt Gaetz, conspiracy theorists, the MyPillow moron, and people like Steve Bannon. Listen to what Steve Bannon had to say.
Matt Schlapp, a guy who, you know,
Matt Schlong.
all kind, who's under fire, right, for some sexual misconduct.
I heard a rumor about
Matt
Schlapp, by the way.
Complete joker.
I heard a rumor about Matt
Yeah.
Schlapp. I heard he was doing security there and patting down all the men that walked in. I don't know if that's true or not. I heard he enjoyed it. Steve Bannon, another despicable human being, racist turd. Listen to, and of course, these are the types of people that they want speaking at CPAC, right? Listen to what Steve Bannon said on a stage, still talking about the 2020 election.
And they stole the 2020 election. Media, I want you to suck on this. I want the White House to suck on this. You lost in 2020. Donald Trump is the legitimate president of the United States.
Yeah.
Claps all around.
Yeah.
Applause.
Trump
What's the Lady
won.
Gaga song? Applause.
Trump won.
Yeah.
Trump won. Trump won.
By the way, the only thing that was missing
Shapiro,
there,
this is what we're dealing with.
This
is what we're dealing with.
The only thing that was
this is what we're seeing.
The only thing that was
every day.
missing there was a Klan outfit that Steve Bannon. It sounded like a Klan rally. Trump won. Trump won.
Delusional. The word is delusional, my friend. That's what we're dealing with here, man. I mean, they actually, some of these people actually believe this. Brian, let me tell you a little quick story. It's a super quick story, okay? Over the weekend, I talked to somebody who is kind of a Trump supporter. He's kind of conservative, right? I'm not going to put his name out there. But he had this scenario, Brian Shapiro, okay, that a lot of these people at CPAC would probably agree with and think that could happen. He had it in his mind that in some way, shape, or form, some body of power in Washington, D.C. was going to find out that Donald Trump actually won the 2020 election. And therefore, this is a scenario, Brian Shapiro. You got to hear this. You got to listen. He thought that there's going to be some body of power, maybe it's the Supreme Court, maybe it's the Justice Department, whatever, that was going to find that Donald Trump actually did win the election in 2020, 3.5 years ago, that he actually won the election. And therefore, Brian Shapiro, he was going to be ineligible to run in 2024 in the next couple of months because he was a back-to-back president. He would have been a back-to-back president, even though we had 3.5 years with Joe Biden already. It's already, the ship has sailed. It's done. It's over with. The 2020 election is finished. Joe Biden won it. He won it legitimately. Okay, it was one of the most secure elections in American history. But this person actually out there had this idea that Donald Trump was going to be found to have won the election in 2020, and therefore it would make him ineligible because he had 2 terms in office, or he should have had 2 terms in office, and therefore was not going to be able to run in 2024. This is just, I'm just giving this, I'm throwing it out there as an example of how delusional and, absent from reality a lot of you people, and yes, when I say you people, I'm talking about MAGA and some right-wingers and Trumpers out there. And to your point that you brought up 5 minutes ago regarding people saying that we have Trump derangement syndrome, let me tell you something, folks. Let me tell you, Brian, all right? Who's the front runner right now in the Republican Party?
Well,
to be the president of the United States in 2024.
Of course it's
Who
Donald
was the
Trump.
president of the United States from 2016 to 2020? Who was the person that we had to frickin' endure for 4 years, where it seemed like every day the entire country's hair was on fire every day with some kind of controversy or some kind of thing going on, okay? It was Donald Trump. So spare me your idiocy, people out there, of you guys have Trump derangement syndrome. The guy is still your guy. He's still the front runner. He's still the face of your frickin' party. All right? So spare me the nonsense. We're going to take you people seriously, and we're going to take your candidates seriously, and we're going to destroy him in November of 2024. And then, I got to be honest, I'm not someone who usually wants to go out there and say, see what happened. I'm not going to rub it. I don't really want to rub it in your face normally. Okay,
well, Matt Schlapp does.
As much as you idiots did in 2016. All you Democrats and all you lefties and all you independents were wrong in 2016. But you know what? I'm going to rub it in your face in 2024 when whoever the candidate is, if it's Joe Biden, if unfortunately there's he passes away or whatever. Yeah. Whenever the Democrat wins in 2024, which they are going to do, I'm going to make a prediction right now. Shouldn't predict about politics. Be careful. Then you know what? I'm going to tell you to kiss my backside.
Yeah, well,
I'm
be careful.
Say, you know what? That's what happened.
Be careful what you say about...
the normal, rational Americans prevailed. That's what I'm going to say.
Be careful when you say rub it in somebody's face, because Matt Schlapp might really enjoy that.
Yeah,
but anyway, Steve Bannon wasn't the only right-wing nut turd that was speaking at CPAC. There were plenty of others, right? I'm not going to play you every clip of every nut job that said Donald Trump won the 2020 election. It's a joke, but I will play you a few more clips. Would you like to hear from convicted criminal Peter Navarro? These are the types of people that CPAC has on stage.
Invites.
You see, when you go, the Democrat National Convention, so on and so forth, they don't want the types of, the McCloskeys that point guns at black people or, the Kyle Rittenhouses. Democrats don't want those types of people speaking. But for whatever reason, at like a CPAC or the Republican National Convention, they have these racist conspiracy theorists, horrible human beings that are speaking. Peter Navarro is one of them. He is a convicted criminal, by the way. Listen to what Peter Navarro says about Democrats and Donald Trump.
Democrats, Biden, Garland, and Smith, Bragg, James, and Willis, and a sizable chunk of the radical wing of the Democrat Party not only want to stop Republican Donald Trump from retaking the White House, they want this presidential titan, and I was there when he was that titan, and providential titan who kept our nation in prosperity and out of war for 4 beautiful years. They want him to die cruelly in prison.
They want Donald Trump to die cruelly in prison. Last I checked, Mr. Navarro, it's not the Democrats that are going after you. You're a convicted criminal. Last I checked, Jack Smith is not a Democrat, Mr. Navarro, the person with zero credibility who still wears the Donald Trump knee pads and is now a convicted criminal. Last I checked, Mr. Navarro, you're going to jail. You were sentenced. You're going to spend 6 months in jail. The last person I want to hear talking about how, Democrats want to put the president in jail. Maybe you shouldn't have broken the law because you are the one that is a criminal. Maybe Donald Trump shouldn't have broken the law. Maybe he shouldn't have defied a subpoena for a year like you did. Maybe if you didn't break the law and maybe if you didn't say things that were blatant lies and untrue, and maybe if you didn't defend domestic terrorists on January 6th, then maybe you wouldn't be going to jail. But again, that's what the CPAC is, the Peter Navarros of the world and the Steve Bannons of the world. And if you want a little levity in this conversation, which I think we might need after listening to these idiots, this is a song that the CPAC people and the Vivek Ramaswamis of the world were singing to and dancing to. Folks, you can't make this stuff up. It's a song that was performed live, and the song is called Trump Won, and you know it. I'm going to play you a little clip from this and what it sounded like at CPAC, where all these Looney Tunes were dancing. Have a listen to this.
Don't encourage him, Shapiro. Don't encourage him, Nunchuck.
So I'll play a little more of the lyrics. The song is called Trump Won, and you know it. She says in this song, the fake news will never show it. Apparently, Donald Trump's own attorneys will never show it either, apparently. I don't know. Trump won, and you know it. The lyrics go, we got dead people voting, drop boxes, and Dominion. That's part of, I'm not making this up.
They're throwing words in there. I will give them that. They're at least they're lyrics with words in them. They don't mean anything.
Well, we'll hear a little more of this. We'll hear a little more of this.
All right.
It's very catchy.
Yeah.
Very catchy.
I'm sure there's Grammy Awards coming with this film right here, too. Can't wait.
Trump won and you know it. Trump won and you know it. The fake news will never show it, 'cause it's true. Trump won and you know it. We got dead people voting, drop boxes and Dominion. And facts are facts, it's not just my opinion. The Democrats know how to steal. Come on, man, here's the deal. Trump won.
All right, I can't take it anymore. Reminds me of another song.
High
Try
quality
that.
production value right
Try
there.
that in a small town.
Yeah.
See how far you make it down the road. These idiots.
Outstanding, tremendous production value there. That's
I'm telling you, the lyrics, the fake news will never
It's a-
show it. Like I said, apparently Donald Trump's own attorneys never showed it either. The My Pillow idiot never showed it.
Yeah.
There is no evidence of widespread voter fraud. Yet all these people in the crowd are dancing and singing to this song. I mean, what a bunch of lunatics. Absolute lunatics. And this is what the CPAC is. It's a bunch of far-right fringe, complete morons with no moral compass. They're liars. They're the Matt Gaetzes of the world, the Venmo Matt Gaetzes of the world, the DUI Matt Gaetzes of the world. These are the types of people, the Steve Bannons, the Navarros, those types of people, that some of them are actual convicted criminals, or some will be. It's really awful. What? No,
They're after him for no reason. Go out and vote for Trump.
those are the types of people that hang out at CPAC, by the way. Those are the kinds of people that hang out at CPAC. These are lunatics.
Well, that's the thing, too, Brian. To add some context to what CPAC has become, it's always been like kind of the people in the fringe of the right wing that have put on when it comes to that, conservative political action conference. But now, what happens? Well, now you have people in Washington, D.C., and you have politicians, right, that if they're not I'm not even talking about the Marjorie Taylor Greenes or the Matt Gaetzes or the people that are on the far right. I'm talking about people that are considered even middle of the road or even just to the right. Politicians have to go
Yes.
there and kiss the ring, basically, right? When it comes to the CPAC, because it's been the Republican Party has been taken over by the extremes. That's what has happened here. It's been taken over by the extremes and also Donald Trump.
I'm doing my thing.
You threw it out there right when I was talking. That's all right. Yeah.
Stop it.
Excuse
Yeah.
me.
So, that's
Sorry,
the
Ron
thing.
DeSantis
I know, yeah.
tried to
You want to interrupt me? He did interrupt. He didn't try. He actually did. There was actually interruption in the middle of my sentence. But okay. But the point being is it's no longer just about spouting off Republican values or right wing values. Now it's just a chance.
Me.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
There you go.
I'm not finished. I'm doing my thing. No, stop
doing
it.
his thing.
Stop it.
He's doing his thing down in Florida now. He's no longer going to be a viable,
Folks,
respectable
do me a favor,
political
because
candidate.
We're getting some requests on social media. Here's what we're going to do, Chris.
Yeah, so jumping on, Mark, right to the Occupy Democrats text line. It's a lot of stuff going on the feed, Brian Shapiro. Obviously, as you can imagine, a lot of my fellow Democrats and lefties coming on and kind of echoing what we're saying.
And I want you to read some of the comments. You're good at doing that and following the feed.
Well, thank you for telling me I'm good at doing that. Yes, I appreciate that.
You're very good. I know you're very. I
know you're very proud. I know you're very proud of your summer stock
Howard Stern
experience.
reference there.
Yes.
Here's what we're going to do, Chris. We're going to read a little bit of the feed here. I'm going to open up the phone lines because it's the most interactive political talk show out there. We take all different types of calls from all different types of people. The lights are really bright in here. I can't see the white people. Well, there's no black people in studio either, so to use from Donald Trump's terms. But we're going to talk about Donald Trump's racist statements that he made over the weekend, saying that black people can relate to him because he was indicted and he got a mugshot, saying you can only see black people in the crowd because the lights were so bright. We're going to talk about the CPAC Looney Tunes. And I think what we should do before we go to break, I'm going to give out the phone number. Don't worry. 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. If you don't think Trump is racist, I want to hear from you. If you do think Trump is racist, we want to hear from you. If you disagree with us, if you agree with us, if you think we have Trump derangement syndrome, I probably think you have Trump fellatio syndrome. But we'll take your phone calls. Again, that number is 702-221-7283. We want to leave you a little more of that song before we go to break, and we'll be taking some phone calls on the other side. Trump won, and you know it. These are very normal people, by the way. They're not fringe. They're not Looney Tunes. These are very normal human beings that are not in a cult at all, ladies and gentlemen. Not in a cult at all. They look like they're in church singing to this song. Chris is even, jamming to this song. It's very...
I haven't shaken my ass one time in this entire segment here.
That's a good thing. We don't want to see that.
By the way, very hard-hitting lyrics right here. Very, very, very stout and very poignant lyrics going on.
We don't want
to
see you shake anything. Well, I should speak for myself. Matt Schlapp might want to see that, but I don't want to see it. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to take your phone calls on the other side in 90 seconds. Again, that number, 702-221-7283, 702-221-SAVE. Trump won, and you know it. We'll be back right after this.
Come on, man, here's the deal. Trump won and you know it. Trump won and you know it. The fake news will never show it, 'cause it's true. Trump won and you know it.
I'm Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, former Lieutenant Governor candidate, progressive independent Democrat, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, fully transitioned transgender woman. I support women's rights and veterans and unions and other progressive ideas. Please donate to my campaign on Spot Fund and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X. Stay progressive, everybody.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran, veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. Do you know no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well. So I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Trump won and you know it.
Welcome back. That's going to be the theme song to Pushing the Limits, ladies and gentlemen. Trump won and you know it. No, but they're not deranged or cultists at all. They're very normal people. Welcome back to the show, PTL. Quick programming note for you before we take some calls, and Chris Wynn, of course, joining us in studio. We're going to be doing a little bit of overtime, kind of like how Bill Maher does overtime. Overtime with Brian Shapiro on PTL. Here's all you have to do, and it's free. All you have to do is sign up on my YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show. At PTL Radio Show. If you subscribe to my YouTube page, you get to watch a little bit of overtime with yours truly after the show, which will be around 2 p.m., 2:05 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. All right, Chris, are you ready to take some phone calls? Are you ready to get into the madness?
Here we go. It's a Monday, baby. Let's get this rolling.
Why don't we start off the show with Kava? Thank you for calling in. Your mind, my friend.
So I was listening to everything you were talking about, and I stand 100% with you. I'm an immigrant, and I have a huge issue with Trump and his cult followers because every time one of us immigrants stands up against them, they immediately resort to calling us illegal. They resort to all kinds of name calling. And what's funny about these people is they have no morals. They act like they're this high and mighty person, which they know they're not, but they like to act like it. And what I want to say to you is, how do we shut these people up? I mean, they lost the 2020 election. They won't just shut it and eat it because they know they lost.
Well, it's a good question. It's a good question. Let me try to answer it, and then maybe Chris could help me out with this as well. But let me start off by saying this. We have to continue to call them out and separate fact from fiction. That's number one. Number two, they are not the silent majority. They say they are. They're not. They're the loud minority. Most of the people in this country, maybe not Republicans, but most of the people in this country understand that Donald Trump did not win the 2020 election and that he's a despicable man. Now, some of those people might not like Joe Biden, but I'm telling you, by November, they're not voting for Donald Trump. A lot of these Republicans are very quiet about it, but they will not be voting for Donald Trump. Now, how do we shut them down? Well, obviously, there's something called freedom of speech, right? So these people are entitled to their opinions. They can also say the earth is flat if they like, or the tooth fairy exists. but there's something called freedom of speech. But it doesn't mean we can't call them out for being morons. And I will always continue to do that on this show every single day. Chris,
and a quick point, too, to the caller, because this brings up what was said by Tulsi Gabbard this weekend, right, at CPAC. Tulsi Gabbard brought up this whole, again, BS nonsensical notion that conservatives and right-wingers out there are being censored across the board, right? And that they're facing censorship here and censorship there. It's nonsense, all right? Every time I turn around, and look, I'm going to say this tongue-in-cheek, and I'm not being dead serious, but I mean, sometimes I wish that conservatives and right-wingers and people that say you-know-what crazy things, are some way muffed and iced out. And I wish they were. But unfortunately, they're not, Brian, and to the caller, right? I mean, I hear Tulsi Gabbard or any other right-winger, I hear their dumb ideas and their idiotic opinions all the time, whether it's across the social media sphere, whether it's at CPAC, right, where at the number of outlets and the megaphone that conference has, right, or any other situation in which right-wingers and conservatives, they have just as much of a platform as Democrats and left-wingers do out in America. Again, it is another line that is a complete lie that comes from Republicans and conservatives that, they are being in some way, shape, or form censored out there in America, and
Hope-
it's just not true.
Hope we answered your question. I hope I answered it the best I could for you there.
And I have one more question
Sure.
before I go.
Sure.
Before I let you go. So my question to you is, as somebody who, because you say you are going to continue to call them out.
Yep.
What more can we do to keep calling them out? Because I continuously get called illegals by all these racist, white.
Well, here's what you need to do. That's
Trumper humpers.
That's horrible, by the way. I'm sorry that you have to go through that. Here's what we need to do. We need to remind these bigots how this country was founded. Also, remind them that Donald Trump is married to an immigrant. At least I use that term married very loosely. And we also need to remind people out there that there is a base of the Republican Party, not every Republican, but there is a base of the MAGA Republican Party that is afraid that this country isn't going to look like me or Chris anymore, that it might look like you. Now, I don't see that as a threat. You sound like a great guy. I have no problem with tons of people like you coming into this country. Yes, we'd like it to be done legally. I get it. But I don't see people like you as a threat like the MAGA Republicans do, because most of these people that are obsessed about the border and most of these people that talk about how white people are the ones getting discriminated against, they're all middle-aged white people that don't understand what it's like to be followed in an electronics store thinking that you might steal something because of the color of your skin. They don't know what it's like to be pulled over because of the color of your skin. They don't know what it's like to be treated differently because you might be gay or transgender. They are deplorables. Hillary Clinton was right, and I am tired of it, and I will call them out every chance I get, and I'm glad there are good people like you in this country that are out there speaking up, and keep doing it, my friend, and I appreciate you. Keep calling in, okay?
And final thing.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, join Brian and I in giving these MAGA demons exactly what they deserve.
I'm going to use that as a
Around
promo.
of booze and shame.
I might use that as a promo. I like that, Cabal. Thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate you, my man.
Thank you for your time, brother.
You got it.
And
Thank
to his
you.
point, Brian, it's not just about continuously calling them out. It's about stomping them out in elections. That's what you have to do, okay?
Sure.
Democrats have to win elections, which we've been doing,
Sure.
by the way, for the last 4+ years, okay? Democrats have been beating Republicans, all right? Look, I get it. Here in America, the political electorate is a certain way in certain states and in certain sections of the country, Northwest Georgia with Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? Where a Democrat's not going to win. I get that, okay? But we have to continue. It's a Monday, WWE style, Brian Shapiro. We got to continue to stomp out these idiots when it comes to elections. We got to continue getting W's and getting wins. And that's how we end up winning the day when it comes to the American political process.
All right, next phone call, 702-221-7283. One phone line open. Let's go to Henry. Henry, what's going on, man?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Yes.
Hey, so first off, obviously racism, no matter what color, is not good.
Yeah. Are you in a bathroom somewhere? Are you you got a little echo chamber going on, bro? Yeah.
I had to roll up my window.
You're good.
go.
You're
There
good.
you go.
You're good. Go ahead.
Yep.
So I heard you guys said 50% of the blacks still support Trump. So
No,
my
it's
question
not.
Well, I
No,
didn't
it's
really
not.
say it. We didn't give that. Well,
not
you
50%.
threw that out there.
No.
Yeah, basically, yes.
Yeah.
It's between 15 and 12%, I think,
Oh.
for the last, 30
Okay,
years.
we'll-
Republicans have gotten more support from the black community.
we'll
yes.
say 8%. How about that?
Okay,
Well,
that sounds good. That's
it might
even
be
better, right?
I'm
That's
just-
even better or worse if you want to put it the way you
Henry,
want to put it for
so
Republicans.
Henry, for argument's sake, we can say that, but I just try to give you facts of who voted for Donald Trump in both 2016 and 2020, and the facts, not my opinions, are it was under 15%, and there are a lot of reasons for that.
Okay, so here's my question.
Okay.
Is Donald Trump racist, or is the 3% of the black people just dumb and don't understand what he's saying?
Okay, so let me respond by saying this. First of all, there are dumb people in every race and every culture, male, female, so I don't generalize that way. I wouldn't do that. Number two, when somebody says they don't want black people counting their money in their casinos, but they want Jews counting their money, I'm going to throw it back on you. Would you say that's a racist statement, or is that just a lighthearted joke?
Definitely.
Okay, Henry, I appreciate your honesty. I would agree with you. So Donald Trump has a history of making statements like that. And when he says that his mugshot and he was indicted and now black people can relate to him, it's so desensitized to what black people had to go through and have to go through on a regular basis, particularly slavery and what some people have had to go through within our justice system. And for him to make that correlation is so ignorant on his part to do so. So, no, I think Donald Trump is racist. I think Donald Trump is a bigot. And if people disagree with me, that's fine. But I can give you a lot of examples why I feel that way, Henry.
So why does he continue to get the black support then?
Well, here,
okay,
so Brian, let me chime in, though. Let me chime in.
But he doesn't get the black support.
Well, he gets
Henry.
15, he gets 15,
He doesn't.
He gets 15%. So I'll answer the question another way to the caller. It's Henry, right? So Henry, you're basically essentially you're asking the question, why does some black Americans vote for Donald Trump? And I'll answer it this way, okay? I think some black Americans vote for Donald Trump for a couple of reasons. Look, as a white American, I'm not going to sit here and presume that I can get in the head of black people, but I will, I guess, kind of right now, okay? I think that some people are Republicans. They are conservatives, right? That happen to be black Americans, right? They also are conservatives, Republicans. So they're going to stay with their party. So I think that's one reason. I also think and it's not just black people, it's people across the board. Some people just have an affection for Donald Trump. They like Donald Trump. They look at him like a rebel. They look at him like he's not really a politician. So they're kind of drawn to him in that way, shape, or form. That's why I think people like Byron Daniels and other black Larry Elder, people like that. That's why they're drawn to him, because they look at him like he's a rebel, even though he's not really a rebel. But they kind of look at him that way. So I think there's also that kind of affinity for him when it comes to that. I think those are a couple of reasons why black Americans vote for him. But yeah, I mean, look, there has to be some explanation, right? There's got to be some rationale why, up to 15% of black Americans vote for Donald Trump. And it could be because they're Republicans and conservatives.
I agree with you, Chris. Henry, I just want to add something to that. You said black support. I think that's what you just said. I don't consider 1 in 10 black Americans voting for Donald Trump getting the black support. So I would disagree with you on that. That's number one. And number two,
it's not so much.
He's not trying to disagree with you, Brian.
The black support. I'm just wondering why, if there's even one black person.
Sure. It's a good question. It's a very good question, and I'll answer it. Tim Scott doesn't care.
They ignore it.
Let me be very clear for you. If Donald Trump wore a Klan outfit on a stage, Tim Scott would still be standing behind him and supporting him. Do you know why? Because all Tim Scott cares about is himself. He doesn't care about you and me. He certainly doesn't care about black people in this country. He only cares about being in political power, and he needs the MAGA support to stay in office.
What about the regular black Americans, everyday working men, that ain't going to benefit?
They don't vote for him. They don't support him. Most black Americans, again, this is a factual statement I'll make. Most black Americans do not support Donald Trump or any other Republican for that matter. All right? If you have an R next to your name, it's most likely in America, okay, the overwhelming majority of them do not support Republicans.
Yeah, I mean, Henry,
especially Trump. Yeah.
Henry, 9 out of 10 black people, for the most part, do not support Donald Trump. So I don't know why you phrased the question that way.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just trying to, like you guys say, Trump's racist against Mexicans, and he did say they're rapists or whatever.
Right.
No, I just say he's racist, period. It has nothing to do against Mexicans or blacks or Asians or whatever. You're either racist or you're not racist.
Okay,
right? You're not a little bit racist
Henry,
or a racist against one group of people.
Henry, I'm going to say this, because it's hard to hear. Henry, I'm going to say this in the easiest way I can for you, okay? In the most basic way I can for everybody. There's a reason why there are few minorities within the Republican Party. There is a reason why in the history of this country, minorities and women, especially women of color, vote Democrat. There's a reason why there's more minorities and women of color within the Democrat Party. Now, I think you know the answer. I certainly know the answer. And there's a reason for that. Republicans will never get the black vote, the majority of the black vote. They will never get the majority of those that are minorities in this country, because they are not doing as much as Democrats are doing to help minorities in this country. And it's why more minorities. Now, there's always going to be a small percentage of people that happen to be minorities that are going to vote Republican. But we're talking about the overwhelming majority, Henry, and I do appreciate your phone call. Those are very fair questions to ask. But I'm just going by facts. It's not even really an opinion. There's a reason why Donald Trump is, again, going to get less than 15% of the black vote. Now, there are some black people on social media. There's the Leo Terrells of the world. If we're talking about people in the media, Leo Terrell 2.0 or Candace Owens or Larry Elder, who's done this show. I've interviewed Terrell and Larry Elder. They are opportunists. They understand that because they are black, if they are conservative and have these far-right MAGA views, they're going to get more support. And if you don't believe me, Leo Terrell rarely did anything on Sean Hannity's show. Once in a while when he was a Democrat and by the way, he still is as a civil rights attorney, he didn't make a lot of appearances on Fox News. He's on Fox News every week. Why? Ever since he changed to a black conservative. Larry Elder was not a star radio host. He wasn't syndicated. But then he decided to be a far-right conservative radio host that happens to be black. He became famous. I know people that know Candace Owens very well. In fact, they helped her in her career become who she was. Candace Owens was a Democrat. All of a sudden, she becomes a Republican and changes her views. And then she starts making money. She starts selling books. Because they are opportunists, those on social media and those just in the media in general. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Angela. Angela is next on Pushing Limits. Hi, Angela. What's going on?
Hi, I have a couple of questions for you. I really don't have much to say, but I have questions for you. Do you know what the First Step Act is?
The First Step Act. Do you know what that is,
Off the top of my head, I do not know.
I'm not familiar.
What is it?
Oh, it's the law that President Trump signed into law during his presidency where he reduced sentences for nonviolent drug crimes. 90% of those who had their sentence reduced were black Americans.
So,
do you here? I have another question.
Okay, but
for
hold on,
you.
hold on.
Brian, it wasn't a question. Now
Hold
she's
on.
just making a
So
statement.
that wasn't.
not
Hold
letting
on.
us answer.
I want to respond. So
Was it a question or no?
You
Okay.
said you didn't know what it
So
was,
Angela.
honey.
Okay. So let me respond to it now. What you just said. I
She
am
called you honey,
now.
too.
Now that you described what it was, I actually interviewed a black man who benefited from that policy. So here's my response to what you just said. Donald Trump did some good things while he was in office. Some policies.
Thank you.
Hold on. Let me just finish. Some policies worked. But you see, just because somebody does something good in a policy doesn't mean that he's not a racist. Just because somebody works at a soup kitchen and might have committed a very violent crime, it doesn't mean that if you, hold on, just because you do something good in your life doesn't necessarily mean that you're a good person. You could be a bad person, okay? There are pedophiles I'm using this as an example, who have donated money to charity. Would you defend a pedophile? So my point to you is you're bringing up a policy that worked. And by the way, I appreciated that, and I remember it now because this was years ago. I defended Donald Trump on this one because I thought it was good policy. But that doesn't excuse, darling, his behavior or things he has said or the racist things he has done. So we could name some good things that Donald Trump has done, and I would admit some of his policies worked very well. You just named one of them. But that doesn't take away from the despicable things he said over the weekend, does it?
Okay, could I issue this then? Is this
I asked you a
racist?
question. I just asked you a question. I answered yours. Now I'm asking you.
Does it take away? Does it take away?
I feel the Democrats actually twist things around to
okay,
make
Angela, I need you to focus.
What he said
Angela, I need you to focus.
Why are you hollering? Oh my God!
Because you're not answering my question. I answered yours.
I am answering your question.
No, you're not. I'm going to ask it again. No, you're not. You talked about Democrats. That has nothing to do with the question.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask it one more time, Angela, very calmly, and I would like you to directly answer it. You just brought up a policy that Donald Trump implemented when he was in office. Does that excuse the despicable racist comments that Donald Trump made over the weekend? Yes or no? And that has nothing to do with Democrats. It's a direct question. Go.
He did not. To me, they weren't racist.
To me, they weren't racist.
Okay, let me ask you a question that makes it more simple. Let me ask you a more simple question because this is more to the point. Okay, it's in general it talks about what Brian's saying, but let me ask you a very simple question. If somebody
she's still talking, Chris, she's not listening.
All right, so she's still talking now. You still talking now? Are you still talking now? Are you still going? Okay, so let me ask you a more simple question. Okay, if somebody does something that does 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 things that you consider are good, or says something that are good 5, 10, 7, 10 times, but he does like 500 or 600 or 1,000 things that are not good or that are racist or that are bad, do you consider that that person because he did 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 things that were good, does that make a person a good person?
How do you know we did 1,000?
Okay, so
things
again,
that were
okay,
good?
so again,
The
so
next
you don't
1,000
answer.
things I got
Okay,
all
to the caller, you don't answer a question by asking another question. I asked a very simple question.
She won't
because
answer
if somebody, if Donald Trump, for example, says or does 5 or 7 or 10 or 20 things, and then but he does some deplorable things that he does it like 500
Let
times
me ask
or
Angela.
600 times, does that make the person a
Yeah.
good
I'm
person?
answering your question. No, it doesn't make somebody good. But
It does?
neither
Or doesn't?
does.
It does or doesn't?
Doesn't.
I'm not going to.
Okay, so it's a very simple answer. Yes, very simple.
Even
Yeah.
saying very simple. We don't want schools in the 70s to desegregate it because I don't want to send my kids to.
I know.
a
He said the
racial
jungle comment.
jumble
I know.
by
We understood
Biden,
that. Yes, we
by
get it.
Biden.
All right.
Okay, so
you're
Angela,
comparing.
hold on.
So you're comparing
Hold
Joe
on. Calm
Biden
down.
to Donald Trump. No, wait. No, I'll calm her down.
Okay, we
Listen.
can't have 3
So
people
to the
talking
caller,
at the
here's
same
okay.
time.
So you don't have, wait. Time out. Time out. Relax. Okay, here's the deal. Okay, let me tell you something. You're comparing Joe Biden to Donald Trump on a racism standpoint.
Okay.
You're going to compare Joe Biden to Donald Trump when it comes to racism. It's completely ridiculous, okay? It's a ridiculous comparison.
All right.
You're comparing Joe Biden.
So, Angela-
yes, he made comments in the past. He made a couple of comments
Okay.
in the past that were racist. He
Angela-
apologized for them. Donald Trump never apologized for
I
anything.
agree, Chris. I agree.
All right, well,
so
I'm
Angela,
just making the point. for
Angela,
her.
I would
Yeah.
like to converse with you for a moment.
That makes you-
Angela, I would like to converse with you for a moment in a very calm fashion. Okay, is that all right? Can we do that?
Probably not.
Angela, are you still there?
She's probably not. She's probably
I'm
hung up.
still here.
Okay, great.
I got a little time in the world.
Okay, great. So, I appreciate that. So, Angela, I want to ask you a question, and this question has nothing to do with Joe Biden, and it has nothing to do with Democrats. And it has nothing to do with. Hold on,
Don't let it
Angela.
have something to do with
Angela, if we're going to have a conversation, you have to let me ask the question before interrupting me. Can we do that, Angela? I'm trying to be very calm.
Sure.
Thank you. I appreciate that. When Donald Trump said he didn't respect John McCain's service as a POW because he was captured, what went through your mind when he said that? Did you think that was?
I thought it was very wrong. It was
okay,
very wrong.
So we have some
Good
common
for you.
ground.
Good for you.
So,
Okay.
Angela,
My husband
Good for you.
is retired military,
Thank you. God
and
bless
he
him.
will vote for Trump.
okay, the question wasn't who your husband is going to vote for. I could care less about that.
I'm retired military too, and I'm voting not.
So I
for Trump.
appreciate your
Yeah.
husband's service
That's
to this
good,
country.
because I'm sure
Yes.
you didn't appreciate all those guys getting killed from the sloppy pullout.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
so Angela, are you aware?
What was
because
Donald Trump's policy on
hold on.
I know you're getting to it. You're getting to it.
Angela, are you aware who
Yeah.
Mr. John Bolton is? Do you know who John? So now I'm going to ask you a question. Do you know who John Bolton
No,
is?
I don't.
Okay,
I
so
don't.
Angela, let me
You
try
know who
to.
John Bolton is?
Okay, that's okay, Angela. It's okay. I didn't. I wasn't
Not really, but
Okay,
I don't,
Angela.
I don't
Okay.
know
So
everybody.
John Bolton
but no,
worked-
I
okay.
don't know the name.
No
I may
problem.
know of him.
So
Go ahead.
John Bolton worked in Donald Trump's administration. He's worked in several administrations on foreign policy. Okay, John Bolton made it clear to the world. He's done hundreds of interviews where he's talked about this. Donald Trump's policy and withdrawal of Afghanistan was virtually identical to Joe Biden. Doesn't mean it was good. You can say nah all you
That
want.
guy's
You
an
didn't-
opportunist.
Okay.
Didn't you just talk
Angela,
about
you
opportunist?
didn't even know who John Bolton was. I'm trying
Doesn't
to
matter.
Yes,
He's
actually,
an opportunist as far
actually,
as I'm concerned.
actually, John Bolton is not an opportunist. You don't know what you're talking about. He worked in Donald Trump's administration. So you don't like the withdrawal in Afghanistan. No problem. Let me ask you another question. Since you admitted that going after a POW and calling somebody a sucker or a loser for serving this country is terrible, let me ask you another question. When somebody says they don't want Angela, this is the point in the conversation. Angela, this is the part in the conversation where I ask you another question, okay? So,
I want to ask you a question. You didn't
Angela,
answer my question first.
Angela,
You just
pot her
asked me
down.
a question.
Angela, I did answer your question. It was a specific policy that at the time when you asked, I didn't recall. You refreshed my memory. I answered it Angela, Angela, I'm happy to have a conversation with you, but I'm going to ask you a question now because I'm the host of the show. Okay, this isn't an interview where you interview me. You're a caller, okay? So when Donald Trump, well, you can laugh, but you are a caller, and I'm the host of the show, and Chris is co-hosting with me today. When Donald Trump said he didn't want black people counting his money in his casinos and he wanted Jews counting his money, would you think that's funny, or would you say that's kind of a racist thing to say and maybe
Listen, he's not a well-spoken man.
Pot him down. The question wasn't whether he was well-spoken. There is a difference between being well-spoken and being a racist, okay? I'm going to ask again. The question wasn't whether somebody's well-spoken. There are some good public speakers, and there are some bad public speakers. Some of those bad public speakers are not racist. So I'm going to ask you the question again. When he said he didn't want black people counting his money in his casinos, and he wanted Jews counting his money, the question isn't whether he's well-spoken or not. Would you consider that a racist, bigoted statement, yes or no?
Actions speak louder than words.
Okay, so according to you, Angela, you can call a black person the N-word, but as long as you don't physically assault that person, you're okay with that. Is that what you're saying, Angela? Angela,
I'm
actions.
Sicilian.
Put her down. I don't care where you're from.
Yeah.
You just said actions speak louder than words, but yet you're the first person to talk about the racial jungle comment that Joe Biden. So now let me give you some action, Angela. Angela, let me give you some action because let me give you some actual action. We have the lowest unemployment rate in over 50 years. We have the highest job growth rate in decades. Donald Trump spent double what Joe Biden has spent in office as far as putting us into debt. Let's talk about the infrastructure deal. CHIPS and Science Act, which I'm sure you're also unaware of since you didn't know who John Bolton is, but you might know who Michael Bolton is, but you don't know who John Bolton is. You see, I'm sure you do. How about giving our brave men and women in uniform proper health care? You see, all you do is you keep talking, but I'm actually giving you action, which is actual policy, but you don't want to talk about action and policy and the good things that Joe Biden did. You want to continue to interrupt me. That's what
Let me hear what good he did besides inflation that my kids
Okay,
can't
put her
even
down again.
afford.
You see, Angela, if you were actually listening to me, I just named you 5 policies. I just named you 5 things that Joe Biden implemented. I forgot about gun control, working across the aisle with Republicans to putting gun control on the books. I think we need more, but I just named you 5 or 6 policies. It went right through your head, and you don't acknowledge it. Angela, do you think it's good since your husband served? Do you think it's good that Joe Biden worked with others in Congress to pass a bill to help our brave men and women in uniform get proper health care? Do you think that's a good thing?
They said he did.
So they
We don't
said he
see
did.
it on
Okay,
this side, but
Angela, I can't have a conversation with you if you have no basis in reality. Have a nice day. So they said he did. No, it's called a bill that was passed, Angela. Holy smokes. I try to be patient with these people. 702-221-7283. 702-221-7283. Thank you.
You were way more patient, and you tried to keep that going way longer than I would have, dude, my friend. That was kind of brutal.
I tried with Angela. Let's go to Damon.
Her only point, Brian, was that Donald Trump did a good thing when it came to prison reform during his tenure.
And what did I do?
Which, by the way, you and I have both brought up on this show multiple times when I've co-hosted for you or co-hosted with you or sub-hosted for you. We brought it up as one thing that Donald Trump did during his administration was prison reform. Yes, where he did give some leniency when it came to prisoners and when it came to incarceration. Yes.
Hey, if somebody rapes children, but they worked at a soup kitchen, do you think the first thing that I would bring up is, well, let's talk about that later. Let's talk about all the time that this person did working at a soup kitchen. No, just because you do some good things in your life doesn't mean you're a good person. It's the totality. Ask Donald Trump's ex-wives. We can't ask one of them because she's buried on the first hole at one of Donald Trump's golf courses so he could save money on taxes. Let's go to Damon. Damon's next on Push.
What's up, Damon?
What's up, Damon?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? I called in to help out Henry. Henry, the reason certain black people vote for Republicans is some of them are just contrarians. They just want to be different and seem like they're the smartest person in the room. Some of them are selfish, just like most Republicans, and they want the tax breaks. Most of them are self-hating black people, like they're self-hating Jews in the world. This American society, propaganda, Hollywood, TV, everything, it depicts black people in a bad way. So much so that Donald Trump says that they're going to like me now because I got sneakers. They're going to like me now because I got a mugshot. They're going to like me now because I went to jail. And people on the other side are criticizing Biden for saying, if you ain't black, you ain't voting for me. And everything that come out of Donald Trump's mouth and everything that comes out of CPAC and every other Republican proves his point. You ain't black if you are self-hating black if you voting Republican, like Candace Owens and the Elder and all those the POSs.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
Yeah.
Michael Jackson turned his skin white. The most famous man in the world,
Well,
the
hold
biggest
on.
celebrity, rich,
Hold on, Damon.
turned his skin white.
Damon, are you telling me you're not going to buy one of these Donald Trump sneakers? I'm shocked.
You know what, Brian? I was going to buy him for the resale market because I know it's a MAGA fool born
There's some
every
suckers
minute.
out there, right? That would dive in and they would be all over that. Hey, let me make Damon, let me make one comment though to clarify things and be factually accurate. Okay, when it comes to self-loathing, right, and self-hating, it's not a black thing or a Jewish thing. It is there's people of all races that are safe-hating people. Yeah. So I just want to be clear on that. Let's not just make it sound like just
people.
black people or
No.
No,
I'm saying some fat people hate themselves because they get body shamed all the time.
Absolutely.
It's just a thing that America shames certain things, and black people are definitely one of them. And the way you look and know that is the way people come from overseas. As soon as they get here, they already racist as soon as they hit the shores because of what they saw on American TV.
Do you agree with me, Damon? Do you, maybe this is an extreme, but Damon, do you agree with me that tonight, if Donald Trump was seen wearing a Klan outfit with David Duke, Tim Scott would still support him as president?
Tim Scott is a familiar. You ever see Blade?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tim Scott would rather be a pet than be in the war against the evil. He really would. That's what he is. He's a pet. He's a familiar, is what I call him. Yeah, but this is the thing. Brian, give me 2 seconds, man. I'll tell you about this crazy dream I had when it come to Trump.
What was that?
I had Trump. Joe Biden died, so they needed another candidate really quick.
Right.
Thanos got nominated, and Thanos ran on a ticket that I'm going to kill off, since half of America is this way and half of America is that way, I'm going to kill off the MAGAs, and that was his campaign thing. He said he's going to snap his finger and kill the MAGAs. Yeah. I started campaigning for Thanos, Brian. I was kind of ashamed of myself.
That sounds like a nightmare. Wow, what a terrible dream. I think I think just like you, I think Melania Trump has a lot of nightmares as well, and it's Donald Trump on top of her. I think that's her worst nightmare. But Damon, I do appreciate your perspective. I appreciate you calling in, my friend. And those Donald Trump sneakers are on the way. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right, have a good one. 702.
Even the sneakerheads, man, Shapiro, even the people that are in that world that know that, they're not down with this. It may be a money thing, right? You may be able to get some suckers that are MAGAs that are going to want to, on the future market or whatever, they're going to want to pay extra for these shoes, but they're not sporting these kicks, folks.
So
That's
I'm going to
not the deal.
Chris, I'm going to make an announcement. This might be the last time I take this call. And the reason why is because I'm welcoming people of all different opinions to call in. Just don't say something that's not factually accurate. I interview more Republicans and Democrats. I've got a huge MAGA supporter. His name's Alan Bigelow. He's running for office here.
Yeah.
He's coming in studio tomorrow. He's been in studio multiple times. He's a nice man. I respect the hell out of him. I just disagree with him. So I can have disagreements with people, but the woman who I'm going to allow on maybe
is on every show.
Maybe the last time
I
today.
know this is.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So Julie.
Come strong, Julie.
No, hold on. Julie.
Don't come weak.
Hold on. Julie.
My friend.
Why is it that you and your husband troll and go after fans of the show that appreciate this show? Why do you have a bunch of fake accounts, Julie? And why do you go on social media, maybe you and or your husband? Why do you attack fans of the show? Because I had to block an account. I have better things to do, Julie, than to do that.
Okay, there is no fake account. Okay,
Who's
it's
Julio
my husband
Lopez?
account.
Who's Julio Lopez?
It's my husband, and that is none of your business.
No,
okay?
actually, it is my business
that's
because it's
not-
my
that's
show,
very
and I can
private.
block.
It is a.
Okay.
And I'm not obligated to talk about my
Okay,
private
and
life
I'm not.
with
And
anyone.
guess what?
Well, no,
Cut it
Brian,
out,
is
cut it out.
Julio Lopez
Hold
your
on.
husband? Is that his name? That's the real person? That's
Is
a real
that
person,
is that
Julio
a
Lopez?
Julie? Why don't you have your own?
Then that's no problem with that.
Julie,
If
why
it's
don't
your
you have
husband.
your own account that name is Julie? Is that even your real name?
Because Zuckerberg is always restricting my account. Why is
Zuckerberg.
that?
Okay,
Censorship.
Julie, don't
Yes,
get me wrong.
Zuckerberg.
I'm sure you didn't say anything crazy or out of line. I'm sure it's Zuckerberg that made the mistake. Julie, I'm going to be very clear on this, okay? If you want to call into this show and have an actual discussion about something you might disagree with what I said, I have no problem in doing that. But I am not going to tolerate you or your husband attacking other fans of the show. I'm just not going to tolerate that.
Who did I attack? Who did I attack?
Did you hear what I just said? I said you or your husband. There is an account.
I have never attacked
okay,
anyone.
now
I
we're
have been
okay.
very respectful.
Okay, I said you or your husband. Okay, now I don't want to waste any more time. So if you have something of substance you'd like to bring up, then I will take your phone call. If you don't,
Absolutely.
okay, go ahead.
Are you willing to allow me to speak to finish?
Now you're
my
wasting
talk?
more I just said go ahead, and you're wasting airtime. I'm going to give you one more chance.
Okay,
Go.
okay, Brian, are you okay with Joe Biden regime to be raiding veterans and throwing them in jail without bail?
Am I okay?
Leading question, by the way.
Okay,
leading
so the question that Julie asked,
leading and loaded.
the question that
are you
Julie,
okay with Joe Biden doing A
this is
or B?
Julie.
Yeah.
Again, you asked a question. Now I'm going to respond. And for those of you that maybe didn't hear what Julie asked, I believe the question was, are you okay with Joe Biden raiding veterans and sending them to jail? I believe that, Julie.
What does that mean?
Is that what you asked, Julie?
Yes, actually.
Okay,
Do you
so now I'm
want
going to
me
answer.
To be more specific?
No, because I'm going to be specific in my answer. It doesn't matter whether you're, first of all, it's not Joe Biden that's doing it. It's the FBI and law enforcement. That's number one. Number two, if somebody served this country, but they broke the law or allegedly broke the law, and there's a warrant and they're allowed to do so, then yes, Julie, I have no problem with law enforcement raiding anybody, whether they are a veteran or not, if in fact there's a warrant. Is that hard to comprehend, Julie?
Do you know that Chris Ken was sentenced on Friday? On Friday, a 22-year veteran who received numerous medals.
Did you hear what I just said?
No, she just ignored what you said.
Julie, pot her down. Julie,
start talking about something else.
Julie,
now.
this is why I get frustrated with
difficult.
you. You asked me a very direct question.
And you
I
answered it
gave you
concisely.
A very direct answer, and you totally ignore what I just said.
And just
Julie, you're welcome to call back, but your phone calls are not going to last very long if you ask a question and you ignore my answer. I appreciate the call, Julie. We're going to go to some other callers. Thank you very much. And I'm sure Mark Zuckerberg is totally wrong, and I'm sure Julie's right. I'm sure you weren't banned from Facebook for probably no reason at all, Julie. 70, is that even her real name? 702-221.
So does the president of the United States raid people's houses or, is
so
involved
ridiculous.
in issues when it comes to crimes and is actually, going after veterans or going after Americans? The answer obviously is no.
Yeah.
I mean, again, dude, I don't understand. I understand when it comes to a content standpoint, when it comes to the show, why people like Julie are even allowed to speak, but it's very difficult at times.
Well,
when they
let's
don't
move on.
have a take that means anything or that is valid in
I
any
agree.
way, shape, or form.
Well, Chris, the good news is we have a lot of other callers waiting
That's good.
to chime
That
in.
is good. That is good news.
Yes, that's the good news. Unlike some other shows in Las Vegas that either don't take phone calls or they get the same 2 or 3 calls every single show. I think you know the people.
By the way,
I'm
you got in the
talking
mud
about.
with her a little bit there. I don't know why you do that. I don't know why you look. You don't have to get in the mud with her, okay, about her husband or being on the text line. No, I'm being Brian. Listen, hear me out. You don't. Let me give you a little advice, okay? You don't
Thank you
need
for the
to,
advice.
call out people for what they say on a text line. There's a lot of Brian. Let me put this out. There's a lot of cowards out there, right, Brian Shapiro? Are you listening or no? Are you ignoring me or no?
I'm listening to what you're saying.
Okay, you are, yeah. Okay, so here's the deal. Okay, well, yeah. Let's go like this. There's a lot of cowards out there that hide behind fake names and fake pictures on the internet, okay? You are a bunch of cowards out there. Let me tell you something. Unless you're in the witness protection program, okay, there's some reason why you can't have your takes out there and your ideas pinned to your name and your face, all right? Man up or woman up, be an adult, and go out there and own your takes. Own your
Corey
opinions, okay?
on,
Stop being people that hide behind your fake names and your fake pictures. Thank you very much.
Corey on social media says, is Chris a caller? No, mute him. 702-221-7283.
Again, I'm on the show
Let's
once
go
a
to
week.
Kathy.
I'm going to chime in.
Let's
all right?
go to Kathy. Chris is
Kathy, what's up?
What's up? Hi, Kathy.
Hey, Brian. I actually called in last week, and first, I'm just going to tell you this, like, right straight out, and if you don't want to talk to me, that's fine. I'm a very emotional person.
That's okay. So am I.
Woman.
So am I.
I can tell you're very passionate, as am I. And I agree with every frigging thing that you say.
No, your check's in the mail.
Everything, though? Everything, though? I don't know about everything.
Chris gets jealous.
Yeah.
Kathy.
Oh,
I'm not
my
jealous.
God. Oh, my God. I'm not.
No, but I agree with what Loud Brian
Oh, my
says, too, but
God.
not everything. Yeah.
there's, yeah.
Kathy,
there's
don't listen to him,
nobody
okay?
more-
Like, yeah.
Kathy, don't listen to Chris, okay? He's very jealous. Okay, Kathy.
Okay.
Go ahead. Please keep going. I'm really
Okay.
enjoying this phone call. Please keep going.
You're kissing his backside, so that's why he's enjoying it. Yeah. That's why he likes it.
No, this is me. I am an honest, outright. I say shit the way it is. Sorry if you have to bleep me, whatever the fuck. Sorry.
Okay, watch your language.
Again.
Yeah, we can't say those words.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
sorry.
Yeah, we do have to bleep
Sorry,
you if you say
okay,
that. Yeah, don't say that.
Okay.
Okay.
I will.
Yes.
I'll try to be careful.
Okay.
First of all, I'm having a surgery in the morning, which is nothing to do with anything else. I get it, but I'm over emotional right now. And there's nobody in the world that cannot stand more than Donald Trump.
You and me both.
And
yes.
Yeah. And you and me both, and so many other people.
I would say, like
So
in the political world, I agree 100%. I don't use the term hatred very often, but I have true hatred, and that
I
doesn't
don't
mean.
either.
Listen, I have hatred for
I don't
anybody
either.
who's a bigot, who treats
Yep.
people with disrespect because their sexuality might be different or their skin color.
Right.
Donald Trump is in that category,
100%.
and
Yeah,
I
100%.
yeah, I mean, I have full hatred for him. As I would for anybody that behaves. The problem is that, you know, he was the leader of the free world, and he's trying to be the leader of the free world again. And I can't understand any female that would vote for this man, as much as you might dislike
Oh my God.
Joe Biden, or you might dislike his policies. Okay, you're voting for a liable rapist. Like, I don't understand how you
Right.
look at your wife or your kids or
Oh my
whoever.
God.
I don't get it.
And this is what I say to my friends, to whoever doesn't agree with me, and I try not to do politics because my husband and I are in different places, can't even discuss it, can't, because he's an idiot.
Well, listen,
He's
don't
a
let it.
member.
Don't let it. Here's my advice to you, Kathy. Okay, you
Affect
seem
me.
like a very nice lady.
Okay.
Here's my
Thank
advice
you
to
very
you.
much.
Worry about what's in your life, your family, your
Right.
friends. Like during this show, I worry about the country. I worry about Trump, and I try not to have
Yeah.
too many of these conversations off the air because it gets very stressful and it affects me. So I'm an emotional,
Right.
passionate person as well.
Get it.
Spend time with your family and your friends. Do the things that make you happy, and don't think about Orange Turd unless it's 12 to 2 p.m., Monday through Friday on Pushing the Limits. Okay, Kathy? Can you promise me that?
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
Kathy,
I can absolutely promise you that. Thank you.
I appreciate your call, Kathy, and you hang in there, and things are going to be okay, all right? Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much,
Kathy.
Brian.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Have
you,
a good
Kathy.
night
You too.
or day or whatever
Thank
it
you.
is.
Thank you,
Okay.
Kathy. All right. You,
All right.
you take
Good
it.
night.
Wow.
Okay.
I got to say, Chris is getting a lot of hatred on social media. I don't know why. I love it when Chris comes in.
So, Brian,
hold on.
checking
Let me just
the
read-
Occupy Democrats.
Hold on. I want to
Facebook-
read. I want to
Okay.
read something real quick.
Did-
This is why I mentioned this, and then it's your turn. So
And then it's my
KJ
turn. Yeah.
KJ says, I like this show and I love it, but you need to get rid of Chris. He interrupts you more than callers
Idiot.
and your callers.
Yeah, not- good take. Okay, checking the Occupy Democrats Facebook page feed. Here we go. Derek chimes in. A veteran with honor and integrity would never ever vote for Trump. Sandy Burden replies, any present military member or past veteran shouldn't stand behind the orange bone spurs baby. That's pretty funny.
That's funny.
Actually, yeah. So checking that feed, yeah.
That's
yeah.
funny.
There's some people that have idiotic comments on things.
I like it when
And
you're here.
It amuses you. I get that.
Well,
That's
if
fine,
someone
yeah.
says something mean about me,
Well,
I
yeah.
want you to read it too. It's funny to me.
Well,
That's-
there's
and then Chris
there's
is
not
cool.
enough time on your show. Your show's
Listen,
2 hours long, bro. I can't,
Colleen
you can't do it.
says we love Chris. Jenna says Chris is super cool. So, you know, you're getting a
Well, I mean,
mixed
yeah.
bag. That's all. Just like me.
Mixed bag, yeah.
702-221.
Mixed bag is the way to describe it. Yes.
702-221-7283. Numchuck, who do we go to next here? What do you think? I'll let you decide this time. Who do you think we should go to? Joseph? All right, Joseph, you're next on Pushing the Limits. What's up, Joseph?
Yeah, hey, Brian.
What's
I've
up?
been hearing your story about Trump coming to the black conservatives. That makes me think I'm about more disgusting than that, because this is coming from a guy who sends in the National Guard or SWAT teams with riot shields and tear gases, just all because he just wants to put himself in a photo op with
Yeah.
a Bible holding upside down like a dummy.
Right, you're right. I remember that day. Wasn't Donald Trump in the bunker that day? I could be wrong. I don't know. Joseph, Wasn't it Trump that was in the bunker with Alzheimer's that day? He decided to hold up a Bible upside down in front of a church, by the way, and the owners of that church did not want him there. They didn't give him permission to be there. What if Joe Biden did that? Let's just say Joe Biden decided to go in front of a synagogue, held up, I don't know, the Torah, held it upside down, and then those in the synagogue said they didn't want him there, and then he called in the National Guard to beat up on some of the MAGA protesters. I wonder how Republicans would handle that. But you know what? Joe Biden would never do that because he's a decent man and a man of moral dignity and character. That's why.
And that's right. And I agree on Biden on that one. And the one thing I also hate about Trump is that this is coming from a guy who says that white supremacist group are very fine people when it comes to that white supremacy riot.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, boy, he is an orange turd with an eyeball the size of his brain.
Yeah, you're right about that. He said, listen, he said good people on both sides, and then some people could give context to it and say that, listen, he wasn't talking about the Klan people, and that might be true. But the bottom line is, look at just the statements that Donald Trump made over the weekend about black people. I mean, you can't defend it, Joseph, and I appreciate your call, my friend, and you're absolutely right, my friend. You have a good rest of your day, okay?
Yeah.
You got it.
Thanks, Joseph.
Brian, to you and to Joseph. Who is wait, who's the Grand Wizard? Who is that? I don't know who that is. Who is that? I've never heard of him before.
I never heard of
Who's
David
Duke? I've never heard that guy before. And by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian Shapiro, but there was a couple family members, both a father and a person named Donald J. Trump. What were they sued? Were they sued by people back in?
I think it was
back in the
discrimination.
1980s,
Yeah.
1970s.
Yeah.
They're sued, right?
Thousands of times over and over.
By
black people.
By black people, I believe, right?
Yeah.
That was. Did Joe Biden? That happen to Joe Biden? Did he get sued for business practices?
No, I don't think
regarding
so.
minorities. I don't think he did. Yeah.
But it's Joe Biden.
Interesting.
But it's Joe Biden that must be stealing, according to Donald Trump, because he owns all these houses. Meanwhile, you have members of your own family that have been stealing from your own charitable organizations. You turd. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Annie. Annie's next. What's up, Annie?
Hi, Annie.
Hey, Brian. Oh, my gosh. Both of you are in harmony as far as I'm concerned.
Is that what we call it? I don't know if we go that far, right? But yeah sometimes we are.
You're talking to a musician, music teacher. Hey, the art of conversation has debilitated itself over several years. But I want to get to the point, and I only was able to come in and listen to both of you say the last 20 minutes.
Oh, how dare you?
So
how dare you? Hey, Annie, before you ask your question, I just want to give you it's a good segue to if you subscribe to my YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show, we're going to do a little bit of Bill Maher action. We're going to do a little bit of overtime every day on my YouTube page. So if you subscribe at PTL Radio Show, you get more of Brian. Some people might not want that.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, I love Bill Maher, so no worries. Thank you for the heads up.
So go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead.
So, sweethearts, first of all, I hope I become your favorite Jew. I've called a couple of times, and I always say, oy vey, mamma mia, disfacacta. So I want to just say that in regarding the, counting money, a black person, and Trump trusting a Jew, which is very racist. And the thing I want to point out to your listeners, if they look back, and these are facts, that Trump and the rental properties in New York, where he did not want black people renting.
Correct.
Okay? So,
correct. You're right.
And
I'll take it a step further. I'll even take it a step further, and you make a great point. There's a lot of Donald Trump said the other day. Remember, Chris? He said, "I'm being, all these lawsuits. It's only because, it's political." Donald Trump was sued thousands of times and lost many of those lawsuits way before he ever put his name in the hat to try to become the president.
Was it thousands of times?
Thousands. He's been sued over 3,000 times. You could look it up.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
3,000.
I didn't think it was that many. Yeah.
Thousands of times before he ever got into political life. So for all of you morons out there, not you, of course, all of you people out there that say, oh, he's a political prisoner and they're going after him civilly only because of he's in politics. Why don't you take a look at what Donald Trump did before 2015 where he was sued thousands of times? These people, they can't spell the word fact, these MAGA buffoons.
And also, I wanted to just say I have family in
Yeah.
Brooklyn. I have family this and that. I'm on the West Coast. But it's the truth.
Yeah.
And that is something one can fact check, which, you know, tired butts, tookuses, you know, I can't believe at my age how many people and the rhetoric and, of course, the lies and all that.
Yeah.
But, for instance, the person, your caller, that when you said and addressed that person, McCain,
Right.
my goodness gracious. And so it goes on and on and on. But as a Jew who's lived in Israel, who's all these things,
Yeah.
there is, oh, come on already. I know, you know, he has family members that are
Yeah.
whatever. And then
Oh,
you've
who cares
got,
about
you know,
Jared Kushner, that bastard?
They're Jewish, yeah.
Let me
That
close.
family members are Jewish.
First of all, you sound like a very nice lady. I appreciate your call. I'm going to try to, I hate to do this, but I'm going to sound like Donald Trump for 5 seconds. I love my Jewish callers. You're my favorite Jewish caller. Thank you. I mean
Okay.
that. I mean that. Thank you for the call, and I want you to keep calling back, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Okay, I got to get to some
You
other
got
callers.
to go. Okay, I love y'all. Keep doing
Love
what
you
you're
too.
doing.
Thank you.
Have
And
a great Monday,
And
okay?
for the record, I am circumcised. I just wanted to share that with
No
everybody.
truth.
Shalom,
Yes,
mazel
yes.
tov.
Thank you. I am circumcised. 702-221.
No truth to the rumor, Brian Shapiro, that's a distant relative of yours from back in New York, or the New York area.
Yeah.
And Connecticut.
702-221-7283. Boot Gack. I don't know what kind of name that is on social media. I don't know why I'm giving him any time. He said the TDS is intensifying. My response to that is your TFS is intensifying, Trump fellatio syndrome. Please take off your Donald Trump knee pads. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Loretta. Loretta is next up on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Loretta. What's going on?
Hi, I'm calling to discuss the fact of endemic racism. It is so deep-seated. We have in the world, we have a hierarchy that ruled. I appreciate 2 white men coming out and talking against it and explaining it to people that it's no longer necessary.
Right.
We don't, we have I have black conservative friends, for lack of a better label. I don't like the term black, but okay. So let's say I've talked to this man. He calls me a rabid liberal feminist. That, and his excuse for supporting Trump is that liberals ruin the country. They've ruined black families.
Yeah.
They've done all this craziness.
That's probably the
where-
same guy that burns a cross at night in his white Klan outfit. So, yeah, I wouldn't listen to anything he says. He sounds like a complete idiot.
Oh, he's a black voter for Trump. That's all I can say.
Yeah, well, I would say that's probably another Tim Scott, ladies and gentlemen. A Tim Scott
Right.
who really can't grasp and understand the difference between the Democrat and Republican Party when it comes to dealing with minorities, quite frankly.
Right. And I spoke to him brought up, David Dukes and things, and it's like,
Yeah.
you can't see where Trump took his endorsement. You can't see until he was called out on it.
Here's what I want you to do. I want you to.
He welcomes white supremacists.
Can you? He
you know?
probably does. Ask him this question for me, and then I want you to call me back later in the week. Ask him why there are so few minorities in the Republican Party, and there are so many minorities, which I think is a great thing, by the way, within the Democrat Party. Ask him why that is, and also ask him why he's in the minority as far as black people voting for Trump. Ask him why less than 14% of black people vote for Donald Trump. Ask him, does he think they're all just ignorant? Why is that?
Right. He doesn't even talk to me anymore. I will
Yeah.
tell you that.
Well, that's
Brian.
probably good for you. That's
he's
probably
like
good.
the other ones. He closes off. But this
Yeah.
is my answer to that. It's because, I will say, poor white people, they vote for Trump because they think they're going to get some piece of the pie.
Yeah.
They think that he's their somewhat savior,
Yeah.
and that he's going to include them in all this.
Well,
opulence
all I
and
would tell
wealth
you, here's
that
what I
he
would
displays.
here's what I would respond to that if they think they're going to get a piece of the pie. Take a look at Donald Trump with his shirt off, and that'll give you your answer. He's going to have the whole pie. Okay. I'm just gonna. He ain't giving
Okay,
it.
Brian.
He ain't giving. He ain't. And listen, people that call into this show that say, Brian, you shouldn't fat shame anybody, including Donald Trump. My response to them is Donald Trump is the one that's fat shamed women for years now. He's going back to 2015. Rosie O'Donnell. He did it with Chris Christie. So the man who will never be on the front of Fitness magazine, who's morbidly obese, is probably. I'm not saying anybody should do it. He's probably the last person who should be going after anybody because of their physique. Have you seen what Donald Trump looks like in a tuck-in shirt on the golf course? He's a frickin' slob. Anyway, I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. And you call me anytime. Thank you so much, dear. 702-221-7283.
And a quick take, too, in response to the caller and to Brian. Look, I'll ask this question, right? There's those people that they think they're going to get a bigger piece of the pie because of Donald Trump. What bigger piece of the pie did you get between 2016 and 2020 when Donald Trump was president, right? I mean, how much better off is your life, those people out there that are saying that, in 2020 than it was in 2016,
Chris,
or in 2022 than it was in 2017? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's not something that's tangible. And another point that she made, she brought up how they liked and I talk about I'm talking about MAGAs and right-wingers and even some of our friends, right, and people that we know, our acquaintances, who make comments like the left-wingers are destroying this company, or this country, okay? When they have responses like that, again, like you said earlier in the show, Brian, I'm trying to turn over a new leaf off the air here, okay, and trying to be more calm. I know that's unbelievable.
You're not doing
That's
a good
unbelievable to you and Numchuck and probably PTL Nation out there that I would make that comment. But yes, there are times where I don't even want to engage in conversation because people make general idiotic statements like that, and they don't back it up with any evidence or facts whatsoever. They just toss out this notion, oh yeah, all you lefties and Joe Biden Democrats are destroying the country, and they don't have anything of substance to back that up, and it's very frustrating.
I agree. I'm with you 150%, but Donald Trump ain't giving a piece of the pie to anybody else. He orders that KFC. You ain't touching
taking
his
the whole
chicken.
thing.
No, he's taking the whole thing. But, yeah, that's the guy who should be fat-shaming others. It's unbelievable. 702-221-7283. You know, that would be like me making fun of somebody's hair. I'm bald, right? I mean, it's absurd. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Leo. Leo is next up on Push the Limits.
Hey, Leo.
What's up, Leo?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Doing good.
Listener, loving the show.
Thank you.
Great show.
Leo, where do you live?
A couple of
Where do you live, Leo?
I live in New York.
Oh, a New Yorker. I'm from Connecticut, my friend. I have family East 65th. Thank you for calling in and finding our show in New York. What's on your mind, my friend?
I just had a couple of facts. Donald Trump's father was actually arrested in a Klan rally by punching a cop.
Correct. That is 100%
Shocker.
factually accurate.
That's unreal.
Yep,
That's
yep.
wild.
Yep. You're right. That's a fact.
And also, what he did with the Central Park 5, and also you have his wife's book. She wrote down that the only book that he keeps by his bedside was Mein Kampf.
That doesn't surprise me. You know, I want to talk about the Central 5 with you because you being in New York. Here's a guy,
Another disgraceful episode, by the way, when it comes to Donald Trump. That whole thing is ridiculous.
A horrible tragedy where a young girl was murdered, and you have 5 innocent men who happen to be minorities.
Yes.
So what does Donald Trump do? He decides to take a page out of the New York Times. I would imagine that's not cheap, and says that they all deserve the death penalty. Now, let me ask you a question, Leo. If you had 5 white supremacists who killed or allegedly killed an innocent black girl, the last person who would be calling for them to get the death penalty and the last person who would take an ad out would be Donald Trump. Ahmaud Arbery was lynched by 3 white men. Did Donald Trump even talk about that case? Do you find it a coincidence that when it's 5 minorities that, by the way, they're found innocent, and Donald Trump never retracted. He never apologized.
After the fact, Donald Trump still wanted them to face it. He still thought they were guilty and wanted them to face the death penalty after he knew they were innocent. That tells you everything you need to know about that case.
So, Chris and Leo, that's not a coincidence like the MAGAs would like to lead you to believe. Donald Trump has a problem with black people, okay? And Donald Trump defends white supremacists. Stand back and stand by. Donald Trump is taking a page from his father. That's what I think.
Exactly. And the way that he does it slightly. And everybody that's from New York has hated Donald Trump for the longest time. I'm sorry to say I am a minority, and I consider myself an Afro-Latino. I've the stories that we've heard of Donald Trump and what he did with his apartments and with marking his apartments with the letter B on top of it or the letter C on top of it,
right?
For him not to rent to certain people, and then you also have the fact with his casinos. He wouldn't let I think they call it the grounds managers.
Yeah.
The people that handle the cards. He would not let them be any other ethnicity except for Jewish or
And by the way,
Caucasian.
and you're right.
But Brian, I disagree with you in saying that he does it slightly. There are numerous situations which Donald Trump was flat out racist to his job because he has Mexican heritage. The comments he made that Brian brings up a lot on the show, right, about Mexicans being rapists and murderers, but I assume some are good people. That's not kind of sideways saying it. And the comments he made this weekend, about black people essentially at that event or whatever, that's not, sidestepping it. That's not, kind of going in with your toe in the water. That's putting both your feet in the water and jumping around a little bit.
And by the way, thank you for the call.
That's the way the MAGA people take it, though. They think it's just a slight little thing.
Yeah, I hear
he
you.
doesn't know what he's talking. He's too old.
Yep.
And I'm like, listen, any common sense person will take that fact and say, listen, he's saying it for certain people to hear it. If you're not listening to it, you're never going to get it.
Amen, brother. I couldn't say it any better. I know there's a lot of good, strong, great New Yorkers like yourself out there. The last person they're going to vote for is Donald Trump, and I'm glad that there are people like you out there. Thanks for finding the show, and you call back anytime. Okay, sir? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me up.
Thank you. By the way, I have a little bit of breaking news. As the show is going on, I'm getting a text message from a man. His name is Valamakni. Now, you might have heard this story, because Valamakni was with his son, who is a special needs child. Now, he's a Trump supporter.
Okay.
And there's a video circulating online where they're waiting for hours and they're sitting in their seats, their reserved seats at CPAC, because they're waiting for Trump to speak. Guess what happened next? CPAC security wanted to escort them away from their seats and wanted to put them in the back. He refused, and he said, why? We're not doing anything wrong. His son's special needs son wasn't causing a disturbance or anything. So he's texting me right now, and he's agreed to come on the show this week to talk about it. The video's all over social media. It's gone viral. Now, he supports Trump. He happens to be a minority. He supports Trump, and that's fine, whatever. He's sitting there with his special needs son. They're doing nothing wrong. And then CPAC, I guess Trump's people didn't want a special needs person in front near where the stage was. That's the only reason I could think of. And they wanted him, and he refuses to get up, rightfully so. He gets visibly angry. They wanted him to sit in back. So that guy's going to be joining
in back
us.
of where? Like behind the stage so he can't see anything? I don't know.
Way in back.
That whole thing's weird.
It's a crazy situation. And this guy, to his credit, he just texted me, and he's willing to come on the show and talk about it. The video went viral. So that should be very, very interesting. Boy, we've taken a gazillion calls here. Or you could listen to some of the conservative shows in Las Vegas that either don't take calls because they can't get one, or, Chris, they take the same 3 callers every show. You could listen to those shows, or you could listen to this show that will take 90 minutes straight of phone calls. Let's go to Hillary. Hillary is next on Pushing the Limits. What's up, Hillary?
Hey, guys. How are you doing?
Good. What's on your mind, Hillary?
Good. Well, I'm wondering if you knew about Jesse Pardo.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
The name sounds familiar.
Okay, well, he was a yacht captain that Trump hired, I believe it was in the 80s or 90s, to man his yacht for some kind of a special party that he was having on his yacht. And Trump came with all of his party goers, and he came onto the boat, and Jesse Pardo had a black mate on his yacht that was working for him, and Trump told him to get him off the boat. And Jesse Pardo said no, that he wouldn't. And so Trump said, get him off the boat. Jesse Pardo said no. So they left the yacht, Jesse Pardo and his crew, and Trump sued him, and Jesse Pardo won.
Okay. So there's one lawsuit that he lost again.
Yeah,
Another lawsuit that Donald Trump lost for racist purposes.
And you know what, Hillary? There are thousands of other stories just like that.
Exactly, yeah.
And
anecdotal stuff, right?
Yeah, and any
kinds
of these
stuff,
people, any of these people out there who want to defend Trump, and when it is the indefensible. I mean, when Hillary Clinton, used the term deplorable, that's who she was talking about.
Well, the word is worse for me, but I won't use it on air.
Yeah, no, listen, he's despicable. We got to make sure he doesn't get back into office in November, and let's hope that doesn't happen because it's going to be a really tough 4 years if it does. Hillary, I'm glad.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I'm 69 years old. I have never in my life before Trump was elected used the word hate. But I hate the man. And I want him out. I want him gone. I want him blasted off the face of the earth. I don't ever want... I thought it was done
I'm not
in
going to
2020.
go. So I'm not going to go that far, but I will say this: if you wanted to move to Gaza, I would celebrate. I will say that. Okay, Hillary, it's good to hear from you. I appreciate.
Thanks, Hillary.
Thank you, Hillary.
Thank you, guys.
Of
Bye.
course. Bye-bye.
And to that point, Brian, right? Who just won the South Carolina primary? There's two people left in the race when it comes to Republicans. It's Donald Trump and Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley's home state is South Carolina, and we're in 2024, late February. Donald Trump is still the guy for the Republicans, even after all the things we discussed and all the things that we have highlighted when it comes to all things Donald J. Trump. It is astounding. The position we're in right now with our political electorate and MAGA.
702-221-7283. Let's go to Franz. Franz is next on Pushing the Limits. Hi, Franz.
Hi.
Hey, Franz.
I just happened to find your radio show, and I'm glad I did.
Oh, thank you.
And I just wanted to make sure that something about the Central Park case is understood. The gentleman who first called about it was correct in everything except that case, even if they found the right people and there was a conviction, there would never have been capital punishment case. That's not what that charge called for. So that shows how deep Trump's hatred of black people is. He would call for the death penalty if they just pick her pocket.
Well, I mean, look at what he said about General.
Great point, actually. Yeah.
General Miley. Look at what he said about that general in talking about possibly him getting the death penalty. I do think he hates.
I remember.
He hates all people that don't kiss his ring, but I do agree with you. I think he has a vile hatred towards minorities, and he's a despicable human being. He's a turd. He's a sexual abuser, a rapist, and we can't let him get back into office, my friend. And I do appreciate your phone call.
I can't believe he has as many supporters as he has.
I can.
Says a lot about.
I can't. You're right. It does says.
It does flabbergast us, doesn't it, caller? It really does. It surprises us a lot. I don't get it, man. I don't understand it.
As I've said before, and I'll say again, the one thing I give Donald Trump a lot of credit for is he exposed how many stupid people and vile, bigoted people there are in this country, and he made them more comfortable in their bigotry. They always existed, but he made them comfortable in their bigotry because Donald Trump is one of them.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's terrible.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm a New Yorker too, and the only good thing I can give Donald Trump credit for was when he restored the Walnut ice skating rink in Central Park.
Yeah.
And that was because I love that place, and I'm sure he ripped off New York City somehow.
Oh, he's a snake oil salesman.
Anyway.
We know it. I appreciate. Where are you calling from? You calling from New York?
Yeah.
I
York City.
love that this show is reached in New York because I love my New Yorkers. I miss New York.
Where are you?
I'm in Las Vegas, but I lived in Connecticut for 20 years. I'm an East Coaster at heart, and I love New Yorkers because they tell it like it is. Unlike Donald Trump, who's a liar, most New Yorkers are honest, upfront people. Donald Trump is the opposite of that. He's a lying orange Cheeto Jesus turd is what he is. But I appreciate your call, and I love my New Yorkers. You have a great day, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, too. Bye.
Yeah. The magic of the web, Brian Shapiro, going all over the country and probably all over the globe when it comes to this show.
I'm going to take two more callers, then we have to switch topics.
Do we?
Let's go to Julian. Okay. Julian's next. What's up, Julian?
Hey, Brian. How you doing today?
Good, Julian. What's on your mind, my friend?
Yeah, so kind of interesting take, which is so to me, Donald Trump isn't even really the problem. I mean, don't get me wrong. He is a psycho. The problem, but there are crazy people that pop up The crazier thing is the enablement by the Republican Party, right? The fact that any checks and balances within the party have been taken out.
Right.
Whereas, like, normally you would expect, like, if like a crazy person pops up from the Democrat Party, they'd be like, nah, and they'd throw him out immediately. And so now we have things like people are talking about Nikki Haley as being like a centrist when she is a hard right-wing Republican.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
He is kind of the problem, by the way, Donald Trump. You said Donald Trump's not really a problem. He is kind of he's the face. He's the face of MAGA. He's the face of this kind of hijacking of the Republican Party that's taken place. Right? He's the guy. He's the point man. Really? Right? I mean, he was president for 4 years. He has been claiming for 3.5 years that he got robbed in 2020, and he's trying to be elected. And he's trying to say that the election process is a fraud. Yet at the same time, still trying to get elected in about 8 months to the same job that he had 4 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, this whole thing is so beyond absurd that, and we used all kinds of adjectives, but like, so he is kind of the problem. You know.
100%. So I was not trying to diminish, but by comparison, if the Republicans, like, after he tried to overthrow the election, if they had just convicted him on impeachment, then they could have moved cleanly off of him. But instead, they didn't. And you hear reports all the time of people of Republican officials who, behind the door, say they hate him, but then publicly they defend him to the fiercest of their abilities.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Very, very well said. There's a lot of disappointing characteristics of Nikki Haley, but I would say the biggest disappointment to me is she's still going to support him. The guy has gone after her husband, similar to what Trump did, going after Ted Cruz's wife, going after his service, going after her looks. And yet Nikki Haley is going to go in front of a camera when she eventually bows out, and she is going to support him for president. It's despicable, and I appreciate your call, sir. Thank you so much, okay? Appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a few more. Let's go to Kevin. Kevin is next up on Pushing the Limits. What's up, Kevin?
Hey, Brian, how are you, sir?
Good, man.
All right, I have a question, and it's kind of been I've been pondering. Now, what does actually happen if and when Trump is convicted of a felony, of any one of the 91 counts of felonies he has? If you are a convicted felon, you cannot join the Army. Number one, he will not be able to vote here in Florida, because in Florida you cannot be a convicted felon to vote.
Correct.
But is he still allowed to run for president with a felony conviction?
So the laws are different in every state, and they're if you talk to most people that are not, that have law degrees that are not extremely biased, they'll say there's a gray area there. I mean, some people say if Donald Trump is in prison, he could still be running for president. So it's a very gray line. I will say this, and I'm very confident in this, and even though it's an opinion, Donald Trump's going to be a convicted felon. I don't know how many felonies. It's not going to be all 91. He's going to be a convicted felon. With that being said, you ask a very good question, and it's a very difficult question to answer because it seems like everybody has a different opinion on what could happen. Chris, what do you say?
Well, I'll chime in. So to the caller, you're asking two of us, and Brian Shapiro and Chris Wynn, we're both not lawyers, right? We're not constitutional lawyers, but I'll make a general statement, okay, that I believe to be true and I think is true, but based on listening to legal experts right across the board, whether you're Republican or Democrat, doesn't matter what your political affiliation is. The assessment, essentially, okay, overall, is that even if Donald Trump is a convicted felon, okay, he's still going to be able to run for president. He still is going to have, a large amount of support from MAGA and Republicans. Now, the idea would be, right, it would be political suicide, right? If you're a convicted felon, most of us logical, rational people out there would say, oh, yeah, that guy probably shouldn't be able to run for office. Not even talking about the presidency of the United States. I'm talking about being a senator or a House of Representatives member or a member of your school board. You know what I mean? But because we are in the political climate we're in America today, my view is, based on consensus of listening to legal experts, not Brian Shapiro or myself, is that he would still be able to run for president.
Yeah.
Well, now here's again, going along all those lines.
Yeah.
The research I've done has turned up the exact same thing. There is nothing that says he cannot. However, state by state, he could not run for mayor or a governor of a certain state because their state says a felon cannot hold office within the state. Obviously, the framers never thought we would be ever in a position like this.
Absolutely. Yep.
But why? I guess I don't understand how the most important position on the planet, you could be a convicted felon and still get that role.
And let me quickly
have that power.
Yeah, so let me quickly respond to what you just said, right? So you think about if there's situations that present themselves, right, in states like Texas or Florida, I'm just throwing states out there, right? Texas, Florida, Louisiana, in which he would have obstacles, right, to run for president. You would think if you're the Republicans, what would you do, right? Your guy is damaged. Your guy is going to have a problem getting elected president based on these situations in individual states, right? So what would you do? You would go with somebody else, right? You would go some other different direction. Yeah. But the Republicans aren't doing that. The Republicans, to use a Vegas term, have shoved all their chips in. They've shoved all their chips in on Donald Trump. Okay, we are now, 8 months away from the election, essentially, 8-9 months away from the election. So there is no second option right now. I mean, Nikki Haley's there still, but you know what I'm saying? Like, there is no option. So that's kind of the state that we're in right now. So I understand your point, and you made a very valid point, but Republicans just don't care about that. Republicans now are hijacked by Donald Trump and still think that he is their guy.
Agree.
That's going to take him to the finish line.
Yep. Thank you for the call, sir. We appreciate. Where are you calling from, by the way?
Florida.
All right. Tell Ronnie D those white boots are very sexy. Please let him know from me.
No, I live in Matt Gates district, so yeah.
Oh no, DUI Matt Gates. Boy, I'd love to see.
Stop
you.
Excuse me. I'm not finished. Anyways, Brian, thank you so much for taking my call. Love your show.
Have a great one. All right.
Appreciate it. Ron DeSantis calling into the. How about that? All right. So I want to make a few announcements here. We have more people on hold. I'll get to those calls tomorrow.
Yeah.
Couple announcements.
Yeah.
First of all, we asked if you're watching on the Occupy Democrats Network to click that subscription button, right? It's only $5 a month. It's a cup of coffee. And you get more content from yours truly. You get personal interaction with me, messaging 24/7. I'm a night owl. So you get all that. Number 2, we're starting something new today as well. So if you go on my YouTube page, and I know Chris Wynn is the first one to subscribe to my YouTube page, it's free. And we're going to do a little bit of overtime every day on this show when the show is over, which is 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're going to do a little bit of overtime and kind of review what we did on the show and interaction for my YouTube subscribers at PTL Radio Show. Subscribe to my YouTube page. It's free, and you get more content at PTL Radio Show. We're going to start today. We're going to do a little bit of overtime, Chris.
You're stealing Bill Maher's thing, bro. You're stealing Bill Maher's thing, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah. Overtime?
I am. I'm a little disappointed in Bill Maher.
I am too.
Some of his thoughts.
He's changed. He definitely has changed some of his stances and viewpoints.
I'm okay with stances and viewpoints politically is one thing, but his stuff about COVID is embarrassing.
Right.
I don't like his stance on the vaccines and COVID, and he's not a doctor, and he's taking that far-right idiotic approach. So I am disappointed in Bill Maher when it comes to that. With that being said, Chris, I got a guy texting me live on the air, while I'm on the air. Again, he and his son were treated and there's video of it at CPAC, special needs son, asked to leave their seats and go in the back, and he never really got a reason why. He's agreed to come on the show. Trump supporter, but then again, if you're going to CPAC and you're a Trump supporter, this is the way they treat people, so it doesn't surprise me. But he's going to share his story.
I can't even imagine what the rationale would be. Is that Donald Trump doesn't want to see somebody that has special needs in front of him while he's talking? Was that the only only thing that could be tossed out there?
I'll ask him.
The whole thing's strange.
The video has gone viral, and his name is Valamat Kani. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. He's been texting me, very gracious, and he's sharing his story, and he's agreed to come on the show and talk about it. So that's going to be interesting. The video went viral. It's all over social media. Just terrible. Terrible, Chris. Awful. With that being said, Chris, my head usually explodes a little bit when we take so many phone calls, but I appreciate all the callers calling from everywhere. Tomorrow on the program, Chris, his name is Alan Bigelow. He's a war hero. He served this country honorably. He's a former cop. He's still a firefighter. He's running for office here, but he's a huge Trump supporter. And he just he's a huge Trump supporter running as a Republican. I can't understand how a hero could support Donald Trump. We're going to talk to him in studio tomorrow. And on top of that, he was taking pictures with Mike McDonald, who is the Republican chair here in Nevada, who was indicted on this fake electorate scheme. So I'm going to dissect Alan's brain tomorrow. Trust me.
That should be fun. Fun
yes.
listen and watch. No
I
doubt.
like giving Chris Wynn a hard time on this show, as you know.
I was surprisingly mellow today, wasn't I?
You were. But
I'm tooting my own horn right there, by the way.
you know, some of the MAGAs don't like
Chiming
Chris,
in.
but I love when Chris comes in studio, and I'm actually going to get him a signed copy of this song, Trump Won and You Know It. It is.
Can I get the cassette tape? I
is-
still have a cassette tape player in my
It is,
Trailblazer.
it is
by the
kind
way.
of catchy. You have to admit it. The song.
Numchuck, you know what I'm talking about. He's got
Yes.
one too, probably.
Yes.
You probably have an 8-track in your
We're
in your,
gonna
whip.
We're gonna be going overtime on this show with or without Chris on YouTube here in just a few minutes, in like 5 or 10 minutes. Subscribe to my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show, as we're gonna be going overtime. We're gonna be same time, same place tomorrow. If you can't join us tomorrow, thanks for joining us, everybody.
Come on, man, here's the deal. Trump won and you know it. Trump won and you know it. The fake news will never show it, 'cause it's true. Trump won and you know it.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years.